Good afternoon and welcome. There's a bunch of people here besides Darrell and Stevie Waltrip that I want to introduce from Fox. 25 years ago, Fox Sports was launched with the NFL. Our coordinating director, Artie Kempner, our coordinating producer, Richie Zients, were there, and they have guided this NASCAR ship ever since. Among the first hires, Darrell Waltrip was David Hill's first hire when Fox took on NASCAR. Matt Yoakum has been here for the 19 years, as has Larry McReynolds, who's back in Charlotte, myself, and a lot of the technical crew and cameramen that you see here have all been part of this long journey. In addition to our group, Barry Landis has been here the whole way. He's now our race producer and has been since 2007. And I'll forget a few people, but it's an emotional day for all of us because 30 people in the TV compound that work on this show, plus the talent and those I've introduced, have been here for all 19 years of NASCAR on Fox. And next year, that number is going to be reduced by 1. A funny thing has happened over the last week. There have been a lot of stories written and aired on radio and TV, a lot of them positive. Some not, but that's okay because what's happened in the last 2 days is the legion of fans of DW from the beginning to now have all come forward and all made their well wishes known. And that's been gratifying for all of us to see. It really, really has. And Bristol is the right place to make this announcement because this is Darrell's house. Nobody else has close to 12 wins here. Now, that's a mark that may someday be equaled. Nobody has come close to 7 consecutive wins here. Gary Baker bought this racetrack, and he says, well, I'll be in Victory Lane. I'll get to shake the hands of a lot of famous drivers. He shook one hand in all that time, and there it was.
And he was my neighbor.
7 wins in a row. Ned Jarrett is really the only other Hall of Famer to have a Hall of Fame multi-championship driving career and then transition to a Hall of Fame worthy broadcast career, either one of which would have gotten Ned or Darrell into NASCAR's Hall of Fame. So it's a bittersweet day for all of us, but doing it at Bristol is the right thing. And what I've heard on radio and read in the papers and seen on social media over these last couple of days has been just a wonderful outpouring of support. One person who's shared this entire journey with all of us from the NASCAR side of things is NASCAR's Vice Chairman, Mike Helton.
Thank you, Mike. Hey, Stevie. So yesterday when the word went out, Steve Phelps, on behalf of NASCAR, made the official statement. Couldn't agree with him more. The impact that Darrell Waltrip has had on our industry, on our sport, will be felt for generations to come. I'm thankful to be part of today on a personal note. As a lot of you know, I grew up here in Bristol. Tried to race, but that didn't work out too good, so I was lucky to figure out how to stay in the business one way or another, though. You don't grow up in Bristol and not know about NASCAR. And when you hang out at the local tracks, whether it's in Southwest Virginia, East Tennessee, North Carolina, wherever, there's a lot of talk back then about who was up and coming. And this was in the early 70s, and there was this guy from Kentucky who showed up in Nashville, and Nashville was a pretty famous stop in the Southeast for a lot of series, but particularly for stock car racing, particularly for NASCAR. And the guy, Darrell Waltrip, his name starts showing up. Well, I'm pretty much confined to Bristol. And I remember Darrell's first race up here. It was, okay, well, let's see what he's got. And did okay. Come back, did better. And then just went on a tear. And I couched it that way first to be sure that I laid the groundwork, because the impact it had on me wasn't from how good Bristol did or how good Darrell did or how good the sport did, I was a NASCAR fan. And I was following the routine guys back then, whether, Cale Yarborough and Pearson and Richard Petty and Bobby Allison and Buddy Baker and all of those. So for somebody to show up, and there's a lot of stories, and there will be a lot of stories, and everybody knows the history of Darrell Waltrip. He doesn't just show up quietly. He kind of comes in with a bang, so to speak, and that bang continued for his entire career, including 10 years from now. But from a NASCAR fan's perspective, Darrell made me more of a NASCAR fan than I thought I'd ever would be. And he also, obviously pulled a lot of people into the NASCAR following just because of his style and his personality and his ability, but mainly because of his driving ability and style on the racetrack. And so, Darrell, from that perspective, I want to thank you as an old fan that watched your career start and end on the racetrack and have been with you through it all and still love you. And I know we've had some interesting conversations.
A couple.
With your uniform on, with your car owner's license in your hand, and with your broadcast permit.
With my hard card in my hand.
And your go-kart keys and everything. But it's been a remarkable impact on a lot of people personally, but on our industry in general. And I'm just really, I count my blessings as I get older about those that I've been able to share my career with. But you're right up there among the top, buddy. And and maybe it's because it's that Tennessee thing or Virginia-Tennessee connection, but you're a remarkable person. Stevie, bless your heart. I don't know what you're going to do with him at home all the time. So call every now and then, and somebody will come take him to lunch or something, get him out of your way. But I love you. Thank you for everything you've done, and I'm proud of you.
Thank you, Dad.
Thank you, Mike. Now that I've had a chance to look around the room, Pam Miller has been here since the start as our pit producer and our Xfinity producer. And the Fox PR people are here if you need any help. Eric Arneson, Megan Engelhart. There's Eric in the blue shirt. Megan is taking care of Barry.
There she is.
We're good. Okay. If you need anything afterward. And our booth mate, Jeff Gordon's here, and we'll all be available for one-on-ones afterward. But, well, my friend, especially at Bristol, you are no stranger to controversy. Sometimes I think you embrace it, like when Cale Yarborough nicknamed him Jaws. Darrell took that and ran with it all the way to 3 championships and 84 wins, including 12 here and 7 in a row, and then hopped into the broadcast booth, and it's been a wonderful ride ever since. But I know this day and this season, these thoughts just didn't come about recently. Can you kind of take us through the process?
Sure. Thank you, Mike. Oh, you want? Oh, I have a mic. Oh.
Not that you need one.
No, I like my mic. No, a lot of people have, not a lot of people, some people have thought that this was a spur-of-the-moment decision, something that I decided to do over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and that is so far from the truth. Look, these are my teammates. We have been together for 19 years, a lot of us have. And Mike Joy interviewed me when I won the Daytona 500 in 1989. And I was grabbing Mike, and I don't know how he survived. I said, this is Daytona, and it was. So, but my bosses have been so kind to me. It's touching to me to think that I work for people that care more about me than they do about anything else. 2 years ago, I told my boss, I said, I think I want to retire in 2017. 17, I thought it was a perfect time, perfect number, and that would work out well for me. But then 2017 came along, and I said, bad decision. I might want to rethink that. And then Jeff came along, Jeff Gordon, who's been a great addition to our booth, and Jeff came along, and what if I bail out now and leave Mike Joy with Jeff Gordon and some other guy that's never done TV before? And I didn't feel like that was the right thing to do, so I stayed on a little bit longer. And Look, anybody that's done what I've done, whether it's a driving career or a TV career, you can always look back and say, maybe I should have done something different. Maybe I should have thought about this, or maybe I should have thought about that. But folks, this is my home. For 60 years of my 72, I've been behind the wheel of I was holding on to something. I was holding on to a steering wheel for 30 years. And I let go of that wheel and I grabbed hold of a microphone. And I held on to a microphone for another 19 years. So I've always been holding on to something. And you know who paid the biggest price for me being selfish and my ego and worrying about me? This young lady right here. Stevie has been by my side for 50 years. We got married in 1969. And we went to the race on our honeymoon. But I had a plan. I thought I was going to win. There was a race in Salem, Indiana, and I said, I'll win that race. It pays $1,000. My part's $250, and we're going to spend the weekend at French Lick, Indiana. Iggy Katona had a different idea, and it didn't quite work out that way. But through it all, I can't look. I'm not going to start in 1972. That's the first time I drove a car in the Cup. I walked into the garage in 1972 at Talladega, Alabama. I didn't know diddly squat. I just knew I was a big damn racetrack, one of the biggest I'd ever seen. I had a Mercury that Jake Elder had helped Dick Hutchison Pagan, and Jake Elder had put together for me to drive at Talladega. And I said, man, I'm somebody. I've made it to the big time. I always love what Bubba Watson said. It stuck with me. Did I ever dream about winning 84 races, 3 championships? Did I ever dream about winning the Daytona 500? Did I ever dream about meeting Junior Johnson? Did I ever dream about driving for Junior Johnson? Hell no. But those were things that have come true, and they've happened. So I always tell people, dream big, because it might come true. So dream big, and that's what I did. So I walked in the garage in 1972, and I've been there ever since. I've been to every track, been to every race, but I took to this race. People say, why did you pick the day? Why did you pick Bristol? Someone must have twisted your arm. Someone must have said this is when you got to do it. That's not true. If you walk outside the grandstand over here in turn 4, there's a grandstand. I think it's 43,000 people. I think it's the biggest grandstand, and they haven't reduced it yet, I don't think. So it's one of the biggest grandstands in the sport. Outside that grandstand is a picture of me on the wall. I won 12 races here. This was my sanctuary. I couldn't wait to get here. A lot of guys, I would hear guys complain about this place. I think it was Kyle Petty said they need to plug it up and fill it up with water and call it a fishing hole. And so, but I never felt that way. I love the high banks. I love the speeds of the short track. So this was home to me. It's in Tennessee. Follow me in Tennessee. That was how I felt when I came here. So this is a perfect place for me to tell you that not the rest of this year. I'm going to be, look, it's hard for me to get too upset or too emotional because I got a race to do Sunday. We're going to do 500 laps here on Sunday. And so am I going to worry about what I'm going to do next year? You know when I'll worry about that? When next year gets here. Next February, when all you are in Daytona, headed down for the Daytona 500, and I'm not with you, that's when it'll hit me. But between now and then, we've got races to do. Our last race in June at Sonoma. And maybe when I walk out of the booth at Sonoma, and I look at all these wonderful people that have been there the whole time, and I think about not seeing them anymore, that's when it'll hit me. And that's when it'll hurt. It's like when I had a race team. It wasn't the cars, and it wasn't the sponsors. It was the people. It was the people that made the difference. My team, I missed the camaraderie. I missed team meetings. I missed going to dinner with my buddies and having a beer with my buddies and talking about racing. And that's what this group has been to me. This is my team. Barry Landis in my ear screaming at me about something, or Artie jumping in every now and then with some direction, or Pam, or whomever it may be, and the camera guys up there on the roof trying to get the pictures that I'm talking about that nobody at home sees yet. So I've made a lot of, look, I'm not a journalist. I didn't go to journalism school. I'm not a journalist. I'm a race car driver. I love racing. I love the sport. I love NASCAR. They say you get what you give. Well, I gave a lot, but I got a whole lot more in return. I devoted my time, my energy, my effort, my passion to this sport. And this sport has rewarded me time and time and time again, not just with trophies and the success I've had on the track, but with friends, people that I'll never forget, people that if I'm in trouble, I got every one of them's number, and I could call any one of those people over there and over here and say, hey, I need help, and they'll say, I'll be there. Hang on, I'll be right there. Those are friendships you can't replace. And Mike Helton, I love Mike Helton. I don't know what he's a pretty big wheel in NASCAR, but I never looked at him that way. Mike Helton's always been my friend, my buddy, and he's chewed my butt out many a time, and I needed it. You know that old saying, you don't know what to say, but you keep on talking? I was pretty guilty of that. So a lot of times I got called on the carpet, and I needed it, whether it was Bill Jr. or Mike or whomever it was. But it made me a better person. And when I stand up there on Sunday and do this race, I am in one of those cars. I don't know which one I'll be in yet. Most people think I'd be in Kyle Busch's car, which I love Kyle Busch. I think it's fun to watch. And am I biased? You darn right I am. Everybody in this room is. One way or another, when you write a story, when you tell somebody something, you always have to put your own kind of spin on it, your own personal opinion. And we're all guilty of that. I don't care if you say, no, well, I went to journalism school, I sit on my hands, I don't clap. Well, that's bull crap, because we all do. That's what I've done, that's what I know. I'm a race fan. I love it when the guys put on a show. When they get out on the track and somebody's putting on a show, I'm going to talk about them. I always tell everybody in the garage, it's pretty simple. If you'll do this much, we'll do the rest. But you got to do this much. We can't, well, we're guilty sometimes of making up stuff, but we embellish. We just kind of embellish. It's not like radio where there's bumper to bumper, side by side, door handle to door handle. I don't know if they are or not, because I'm listening on the radio. But when it's on TV, it is what it is. And I love live TV. And these guys will tell you, I don't like to rehearse. I hate rehearsal. I just let it go. I learned that from Ralph Emery doing the Nashville Now show. That was a live TV show. You went on stage, they turned the cameras on. If you made a fool of yourself, guess what? You made a fool of yourself. If you said something you shouldn't, guess what? You had the shoestrings hanging out the corner of your mouth. So I've learned a lot from everybody I've worked for, everybody I've worked with. And there's life lessons. This sport, it's taught me so much, and they're all life lessons. But we just had our first grandchild, Louisa. She's beautiful. She's 14 months old. I wish she was here right now, because she's so much fun. And I had two daughters that grow up at the track, and Stevie homeschooled those girls at the track. And everything we did at the track. Everything we did revolved around racing. We didn't have much of a family life. And both my girls are grown up and married, and now we have our first grandchild. I can't let that happen. I can't let that happen again. I need some quality time. This is quantity time. I get a lot of quantity time because I get to the track a lot. I need some quality time with her. 50 years of marriage, and our daughters are getting older, and our grandkids are coming along. I'm never going to run from this sport. I'm never going to turn my back on this sport. I love it too much. It meant too much to me. But I do have to let it rest. And that's what today is all about. I wanted to do today because I don't want people hounding me about when am I going to retire, if I'm going to retire, if somebody making you retire. what's going on. If you want to know those kind of things, you need to come and ask me. I can tell you straightforward what's going on. But I've had the best bosses in the world. David Hill was one of my best friends. Eric Shanks right there beside him. All these people, Mike, and it's been a great run. It's been a great run. 30 years in a car and almost 20 years behind a behind a TV camera. It's just, you can't ask for any more. But it's time for me to step aside and let somebody else. It's time to make room for somebody else. They can't make plans for their future if I don't tell them what mine are. And so that's why I wanted to clear the air today. Retiring at the end of this year, not done yet. Got a few races to go. At the end of this year, I'll retire, and somebody else will get up there behind and work with Jeff Gordon and Mike Joy and have as much fun as I had. I could tell you a million reasons why I think today is the right time. But the biggest reason is because I think it's time to make room for someone else. Let somebody else do what I've done all these years. So I've loved every minute of it, and I've learned from every person I ever worked for. Many things I've told you, don't beat yourself. I did that, and I learned the hard way that that's the worst kind of defeat you can have. Hear me now, believe me later. Unintended consequences, things that I harp on all the time. Those are things that everybody in this room needs to take to heart. You get what you give, and the biggest thing I think I learned, and I learned this from, I always told Richard Petty and Pierce and those guys back in the, well, I said, I don't think they respect me. And Richard Petty, with his long index finger, said, boy, respect begets respect. And I had to think about that, and he was right. I remember thinking when I started in this sport, what the hell? What's the big deal with the king? What's the king anyway? Who's the king? And then when it was all over with, and I look back, I know why he's the king now. He was the man, and has continued to be. His legacy, if I have one, I wish it was as good as would parallel his. Because Richard Petty has meant a ton to this sport. People talk about him. He's still here. And he's one of my, I don't like to tell him this because they get all mushy and stuff, but he's one of my heroes. And I've appreciated him very much for what he's meant to the sport. So that's all I got for you. I'm retiring at the end of the year, and see what I'm not. Somebody said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I don't know. I don't have a plan. I'm a day-to-day guy. I got up this morning, it was raining. It quit raining, the sun's shining. That's my kind of day."
We are going to take questions. There'll be a couple of microphones that the PR staff has, and as they're making their way to you, thanks to Billy Malden and to Melanie and Monty from Motor Racing Outreach for being here. Darrell, I know that's a cause that's very dear to you. And as Adam and Vince and Jamie and Regan, all of our newer hires, and Jeff will tell you, we have a three-legged stool. Inform, educate, and entertain. Amen. And I'm just so glad you've had a firm grip on that entertain leg.
Yeah, thank you.
For all these 19 years. Where are the microphones and where are the questions? Mike.
Mike Hembry, Auto Week.
Yeah, Mike.
What's harder, leaving this or leaving driving?
You know, I thought when I retired from driving, I didn't know what, I always thought that was my identity. Those cars, those uniforms, being at the racetrack, being on the racetrack, I always thought that was my identity. That was just my platform. This is the hardest thing. I'm older, so it's harder. This is the hardest thing I've ever had to do. These people have, a race team, people come, people go, but a lot of us have been together the whole time I've been here. Familiar faces, familiar voices, coming to you and telling you, I don't think you should have said that, or I think you might want to, think about what you said, or say it in a different way. And those are things that I'll never forget. This is the hardest thing I've ever had to do. I didn't look forward to today by any means, but because I don't have to, because I've still got the rest of this year to go, it doesn't seem quite as bad as that it will be later on. So, but by far and away, TV is, I was I was a race car driver, but then when I did TV, I thought on fans and fan clubs and fan mail, I thought that would all go away. It didn't. It just increased. So this has been the greatest experience of my life.
Doug.
Darrell, 19 years in the booth now. Is there a driver that reminds you of you, and who is it and why?
Well, yeah, I've seen a lot of guys come and go, in 19 years. Carl Edwards was fun to watch. I thought he was pretty aggressive at times, and Matt Kenseth and Tony Stewart. Tony Stewart is quite a character, but I honestly believe, and people get on me all the time because they think I'm on his payroll or something, or because he drives a Toyota, but Kyle Busch is the most exciting driver I've ever seen drive a stock car. The things I've seen him do. We were at California, and he come through the pack, and he went 3 wide places where there wasn't room but for 2. I saw him do it at Texas this past week. The man puts on a show, and look. Like I told you, I used to say, are you with the show? No, I am the show. Well, he can say, when he's in the race, he is the show. We keep a camera on him. We keep an eye on him because we know he's going to do something that's going to be exciting and fun to watch. So I think Kyle has grown up a lot. I think he's changed a lot, but his driving has not, he hadn't let up. And he's got a lot of wins ahead of him, a lot of wins. But I'm a Kyle Busch fan.
Deb?
DebWilliamsRacingToday.com. It's been a good ride
It
with
has.
both of you. You talked about you had been thinking about this for quite some time, but as it drew closer, did you think about changing your mind again? And if so, why or why not?
Well, you sound like my boss. Because that's what Shanks would ask me. At the end of last year at Sonoma, he came and we talked, and he said, what do you think about next year? And I said, I don't know, boss. That's in June, and it's a long time till February. And so I hope you realize that I don't have to be sitting here today. Nobody told me this is the day you got to do this, or this is the year we want you to do this. They've been so kind to me, and they've left it up to me. You decide. You'll know when the time is right. We don't have to coax you or tell you. You'll know when the time is right. And listen, Deb, you know this. Everybody in this room knows this. The sport's changed. It's changed a ton. And people say, well, he's not relevant anymore. He hadn't driven a car and blah, 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 blah. Big whoop. I've been in the cars. I know what they feel like. I know what it feels like to win a race here. You want to listen to some guy that's never won a race somewhere tell you how to drive a car? I don't think so. So I have the knowledge. I have the experience. And I don't sit at home Monday through Thursday twiddling my thumbs. I talk to crew chiefs. I talk to drivers. I know about the data they have. I know about the technology they have. I know how they do it. I could build a damn car myself if I had to. Tell somebody else, some of these guys in there, to go build a car and see how it runs. I've owned teams. I've promoted races. I've driven cars. I've done everything you can do in this business. And for the most part, I think I've done it pretty well. So nobody shook me and said, man, it's time to give it up. It's just that time. I'm 72 years old. I could do this till I'm 90. I do everything I do with passion. I do everything I do to have fun. And I think most of the time people around me have fun. I might have a dud every now and then. I might tell a joke that doesn't go over too good every now and then. But this is what I know. This is what I do best. And I've loved every minute of it. And I think I'm pretty damn good at it, to tell you the truth.
I want to thank Marcus Smith for being here and invite Jerry Caldwell with Bristol Motor Speedway to the podium.
Oh, boy.
Darrell, you,
What are you going to do with that?
well, I was thinking about it over there. I think I need to give this to Stevie so she can use it on you.
Probably so.
On behalf of Bruton and Marcus and all the team here at Bristol Motor Speedway and all of the fans,
Yeah.
we just want to say thank you
Yes, sir.
for everything that you have meant to us at Bristol. I mean, 12 races, 7 in a row. For 3.5 years, there was no one else in victory lane.
Yep.
I'm glad I wasn't promoting races then, because you would have gotten some complaints.
It was pretty boring. I told Jeff Gordon the other day, I said, it must be easy to win 9 races here.
Shots fired. You've got lots of those big trophies, we know that.
Yeah.
And we thought it was only appropriate to present you with one of the swords that we now present in Victory Lane.
Holy smoly. Look at that.
It simply says Bristol Motor Speedway legend Darrell Waltrip, because that's truly what he is. Thank you for all you've done, bud.
Oh, that's nice. How to slice Susan butter?
We have one other thing.
Thank you, Junior.
Again, on behalf of Bruton and Marcus, and another Smith that we know and love, Steve Smith.
Oh, yeah.
It would be our honor if you would be willing to climb into the flag stand and start the Food City 500 for us on Sunday.
Oh, man, I'd love to do that. I'd love to do it. Thank you very much. I thought you were going to say, climb in the car and run the race. Thank you, buddy.
We're going to have a little time for one-on-ones. Jeff will be available, Darrell and Stevie, for one-on-ones until they toss us out here. Thank you all very much for your time and attention.
Thank you, everybody.